Hello and welcome to this session on Spring Boot interview questions. So, how many attempts made by Thomas Edison to invent the bulb? So, everybody knows the answer, but still, I would like to go ahead. 1,000 attempts. So, when a reporter asked Edison how it failed to fail 1,000 times, so he smartly replied that was an invention of 1,000 steps. So, how many attempts do you require to clear interview? So, believe in first, select only. So, smart way to crack interview in first attempt. So first of all, you should know the syllabus of Spring Boot, right? So what is the syllabus? Spring Boot with REST, then exception handling using Spring Boot style rather than core Java style, then Spring Data JPA, then once again Spring Boot testing using Spring Boot style rather than just JUnit, security, filtering, Swagger, actuator, versioning, content negotiation, transaction management. Then once again, one of the important topic, asynchronous communication, maybe with any messaging queue like Apache Kafka. Then how to communicate to different Spring Boot application with the help of REST template or web client. Then how to set the profile. And then once again, one of the important topic, auto configuration. Then how to do multi-threading in Spring Boot. Design patterns. Right? Still, one important point is missing here. So that is what microservices. So for that, another entire page required to write down all the contents. So except microservices, I will try to cover other interview questions. Okay, so just covering the interview questions and answers, it's not sufficient. You need to understand using practicals. So in case if you have any query on any questions, I have all the demos on my repository, or maybe you can go ahead with the other articles on the internet. Then you need to do the study scenario based questions, right, or use case beyond syntax, right? So what is the use case of every topic? You should know that one. Then study material, always try to refer the official docs, right? For example, if you consider core Java, then Java docs is there. If Spring is there, then Spring docs is there. And another three important tips I will share during this session. Okay, so very first question you may get it when there is a Spring framework or when there are 20 modules in Spring, why to go for Spring Boot, right? So you should be able to differentiate these two things. So Spring Boot provides a standalone application. So we have a container inside app. If you consider servlet where we have a opposite case, right? So just as a standalone application, you can execute. So when we say standalone, that means I can consider as a jar application also instead of war file. Then auto configured. Yeah, this is one of the very beautiful feature. No need to configure. For example, if you have a Spring MVC, then we have to configure this dispatcher servlet in web.xml. Or if you consider ORM, then we have to configure data source and transaction manager. So we don't need to configure anything in Spring Boot features. These are the examples. Then provide opinionated starter POMs to simplify your Maven configuration. So one of the headache for the developer is if there is a Java 8, then compatible Tomcat version, we need to install it. And likewise, other models versions also we need to take care. But here you don't need to provide the version of any module, whether it is Spring Data JPA, whether it is REST Web, whether it is Actuator, no need to provide any version. So Spring Boot takes care for the same thing. Then provide production ready features such as metrics, health checks. We'll discuss in this one in detail. Then absolutely no code generation and no requirement for XML configurations. So if you consider Spring and Spring MVC, lot of time as a developer point of view, we need to spend on XML configuration. But here in most of the cases, we don't need to write down a single line of code. So that's the reason all the Java projects in today's world, you'll find it using Spring Boot. And focus more on business features and less on infrastructure. So as a developer point of view, our core job is to focus on business models, not on the infrastructure, so which is provided by the Spring Boot. Okay, next interview questions. What is this annotation Spring Boot application? So we have two meanings here. Number one is it's a combination of 7 annotations: documented, inherited, target, retention, Spring Boot configuration, auto configuration, and component scan. So Spring Boot configuration means what? We don't need to create any XML file. Auto configuration, just we discussed, automatically configuring the classes. In case of Spring Data JPA, no need to write down the configuration for data source, transaction manager. Then component scan, where to scan all the stereotype annotations like component, repository, service. Okay, which one is the default server in Spring Boot? So answer is Tomcat. And other embedded server, we have a Jetty and Under2. So how to configure Under2? We need to exclude the existing server using exclusions and exclusion, and where we have to specify Spring Boot starter Tomcat. And then we have to add the dependency for Under2. So apart from Tomcat, Jetty, or Under2, can we configure any other server? So answer is yes. But as a developer point of view, we more focus on the business features, right? So what is the difference between controller and REST controller? So REST controller is a combination of response body and controller. Okay, next is the difference between request mapping versus get mapping. So get mapping is a shortcut of request mapping, right? So in a request mapping or post mapping, we have to explicitly specify the method name, whether it is get, post, put, delete. Where in post mapping, we don't need to specify that one. So always better to go for this shortcut. Okay, in which HTTP methods we require request body. So if you consider get, post, put, delete, so out of these four, post and put, where we need to pass the request body. Okay, so have you used optional object in the project? What is the purpose of optional object? Right, so this class has various utility methods to handle values available or not available instead of checking null values. For example, so just code snippet I pasted here. So in DAO layer, I am finding the employee based on employee ID, and then return type is optional. And then here I'm checking if employee is not present, then throw the exception, otherwise return the employee object. So those days are gone where we check the value whether it is null or not. Instead of that, this is the better approach. So what is the difference between path variable and request param? So path variable in URL itself, we write it down as employee/1. And in request param in URL, we write it down question mark, then employee ID equal to 1. So in which layer component @component can be used? So as you know, we always follow the layered architecture where we have a controller layer, service layer, DAO layer. For controller layer, we have something like REST controller annotation. For service layer, we have something like @service annotation. But @component, where we can use it? In any layer we can use it. Okay. The next question is from the Spring Data JPA. What is the difference between JPA repository and CRUD repository? So JPA repository is the latest one. So JPA repository has the super interface paging and sorting repository, which has a super interface CRUD repository. So obviously some additional facilities are there in JPA repository. So what are those additional facilities? First is if you want to go for paging and sorting, right? So whenever we type any question in Google, right? So Google has thousands of answers, but in the first page, as in paging wise, it gives the answer. So if you have such kind of use case, then you can go for JPA repository. The second thing is there is a difference in return type for many methods. For example, I want to find out all the records. So here, find all has the return type as a list, where in case of CRUD repository, find all has the return type iterable. Okay, then use case for unidirectional and bidirectional mapping. Say, for example, if the interviewer asks that how to decide that, what to keep, whether it is unidirectional or bidirectional, right? So it is based on how do you want to traverse the data. So, for example, employee has the address. Address is dependent on employee. So we always need to have a unidirectional mapping in this case from employee to address. But users has multiple orders. Or from the orders, I want to trace users. So in this case, bidirectional mapping is required. So how to implement this one? For example, I have the example like customer has multiple phone numbers. So customer is one of the entity. Then phone numbers where I'm writing the collection set because every phone number should be unique. Then here I'm using one-to-many annotation mapped by. So I have two classes, customer and phone number. So who owns the primary key? Customer entity. So I am writing mapped by customer. Then I require one more important attribute, cascade equal to cascade type dot all. So what if I do not write down this property? So you'll find it the insertion of record only in customer and not in phone number. So that's the reason this cascading effect we require. And as this is the bidirectional, that's the reason on the phone number side also we require annotation many to one. And then how do you want to join the column? Okay, so how to write down custom queries? So JPA repository or CRUD repository provides a ready-made CRUD operation. But always client point of view, you will find it customized requirement where we need to find out some additional records. So many ways are there. One way is by field names. For example, this is the fixed word find by, and then name is the field name from the beans or entities. Right. So whatever the field name we declared inside the entity, we are using the same thing. So always find by and then you have to use the field name. For example, find by salary between. So by field name, this is the first approach. Second approach is JPQL. Just use the @query annotation. If you want to retrieve all the record, then no need to write down select star. So directly you can start from employee. And JPQL is independent of database. So this employee is a class name. It's not a table name. And class name, table name, we can have a different one. So if you want to consider table name, then you can go for native query. Right? So from employee where name equal to employee name and then same name here I'm using as an parameter using @param annotation. Okay, next question is what is profile? This is again one of the important questions because always we have a development environment, staging environment, production environment. And in every environment, we want to set different properties. So using profile, you can have those configuration settings. So Spring Boot allows to define profile specific property files. So we have to write down application hyphen dev dot properties or application hyphen stage. So this is the convention we follow. Or instead of creating multiple files using YAML file, you can have a single file only. For example, so here I created one property file for dev environment. So by writing the name application hyphen dev dot properties. So just assume that server dot port 7777 and additional property for actuator. So here we are not interested to learn what kind of properties I have written, but here how to write down multiple properties file for dev and production environment. So this is for production environment. Then if you want to consider this production environment, then you can run this project in this manner. Run as, run configuration, and here select the environment. So instead of going for multiple properties file, you can go ahead with the single YAML file, application YAML file. So this is dev environment and these are the properties. This is production environment, this is the property. This triple hyphen indicates end of the environment. Okay, so which profile do you want to make active? So I want to make it as in production. So here, instead of creating multiple files in a single file, we can write down all the properties. Okay, the next question is what is the difference between properties and YAML? Right. So properties basically used in Java language only, where YAML used in multiple languages like Ruby, Python, Docker. Then non-hierarchical and hierarchical. So just we saw this is in hierarchical format. And yeah, as a syntactical point of view, space should be there in the next hierarchy and after colon, single space is required. But we don't need to bother about this one. Always use the ready-made editor. Okay, this properties like works with property source annotation and YAML doesn't work with property source annotation. And yeah, we already covered this point. One Spring profile per config, where in YAML multiple Spring profile per config. So single file only. So which is better way to configure properties or YAML? YAML offers many advantages over properties files. More clarity and better readability, support for maps, list and scalar types. So instead of creating multiple properties file in a single, we can set the profile. And YAML comes with hierarchical nature, which helps in avoiding repetition. For example, here Spring data source dot URL, then username, password. Every time this word is repeated, Spring dot data source. So if you consider this one, that is not repeated. So this may be one of the advantage. Next one is what is actuator? Right. So it provides production ready features, health information, right, whether the application is up or down, total information, then mappings, what kind of mappings are available, what kind of, how many bins are available, metrics, right? All this information you can get it without writing a single line of code. So just we need to add the dependency actuator. Then what is time leaf? So offers elegant and natural templates for a web application. So what is the use case? Suppose directly we don't want to give the response. From the controller, we want to pass it to the view section, especially for HTML5 CSS report. Then in that case, you can go for this dependency, timely. So controller to view. So this is one of the use case I can say that. Next question is Spring Boot may interviewer may ask you that about auto configuration, one of the important topic. So Spring Boot automatically configures beans. For example, when we use the Spring JDBC, right, automatically Spring Boot configures the classes without writing a single line of XML code. All these classes are automatically configured with the help of enable auto configuration annotation. Next question is how to enable configuration report. Many ways are there. One of the simplest ways in application.properties, write down debug equal to true. And these are some additional ways. Logging.label.root equal to debug, or using command line java jar and then demo project.jar hyphen debug. So how to disable a specific auto configuration? So performance point of view, sometimes we need to disable some of the classes. So we can use annotation enable auto configuration and exclude a specific class. Or you can exclude using fully qualified name a.b. This is just an sample demo, not the actual package. So using fully qualified name also you can exclude a particular class. Then can we have auto configuration based on condition? Yes. So presence or absence of bean. So if a particular bean is present, okay, then only load a particular class. Presence or absence of property or presence or absence of jar. Let's try to understand this point. For example, here I am using conditional on property annotation. So if this value is present in property and it has the value true, then only load this space station controller class. So based on property value, I am loading the class. Right? So base conditional on class. So if this class is present in the class path, so I can use the conditional on class annotation. Maybe conditional on resource. If this resource is present in the project, something like important file.txt file, then only load the class. Okay, so how to add filter in your app? Right. So this is again, if you want to filter the data, if you want to apply the logging functionality, if you want to apply the security, you can go for filter. So there are three ways: by implementing filter interface, or using filter registration bin, or MVC controller. So have you used Swagger in your project? Right. So Postman, it's very time consuming entering all the details, testing point of view. Using Swagger, definitely it saves the time. But apart from testing, we have the purpose like to develop the API, interact with API, documentation. All these things can be achieved using Swagger. Okay, transaction propagation. What are the propagation available? So these are the propagation available. Required, supports, not supported, requires new, never, mandatory. And in most of the use cases, required is sufficient. Right? So where we execute multiple queries under the transaction. Okay, so interviewer may ask you your exception handling experience in the Spring Boot project. So there are two ways to handle the exceptions. One is response status exception. Right. So fast way for basic error handling in RESTful APIs. So using response status exception and response entity where we return the status, right? And this is good for small project or POC. If there is a big project, obviously this approach is not good. We have to go for the annotation REST controller advice and exception handler. Right? So these examples are there in my repository. Please refer in case required. Okay, the next is most important tips. So first is source code to understand internal working. Right. So did you check any source code to understand internal working? For example, in core Java, one of the very common question, how hash map works internally in Java. So if you go through the source code, then it's very much easier to answer the same question. Or initially we discussed one of the question that Spring Boot application annotation. So this is what the source code, combination of 7 annotations. The next thing is irrespective of platform, these are the two very common points for all the developers, DevOps and cloud. So did you build your project using build server like Jenkins server or any other build server? Right. So ideally you should do this practice. Then from development to deployment, entire cycle you should complete it. And deployment, especially using Google Cloud or AWS Cloud, try to upload. So these are the very important tips. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. And if you have any query, please post on the comment. I will be happy to answer. So once again, thanks a lot.